My own family staged an intervention to disown me, for the good of the family. Too bad they didn't know about the secret business I owned. I am Melanie, the black sheep of the Gonzalez family. While my siblings collected degrees and accolades, like trading cards, I chose a different path, one that involved creating things with my hands and building something uniquely mine. The door swung open before I could knock. "You're late," my mother said. Her lips pressed into a thin line. "Everyone's waiting." I checked my watch, 6:58 p.m. In my family, anything less than 10 minutes early was considered late. The living room fell silent as I entered. My sister, Wendy, sat primly on the edge of the leather sofa, her lawyer's briefcase by her feet. Louisa, fresh from her hospital shift, still wore her scrubs like a badge of honor. Nathan, my younger brother, didn't even look up from his phone. My father stood by the fireplace, hands clasped behind his back like a general preparing for battle. "Sit down, Melanie," he commanded, gesturing to the lone armchair facing everyone else. To set up, Wendy reached into her briefcase and pulled out a document. "We've been discussing the family's future," she said in her courtroom voice, "and we've come to a decision. A necessary one," my mother added, perching beside Louisa, "for the good of the family." The document made its way into my hands. The legal jargon was dense, but certain phrases jumped out. Formal dissolution of familial ties, relinquishment of inheritance rights, termination of family association. "You're disowning me?" The words came out as a whisper. "It's not personal." Nathan finally looked up. "It's business." "Business?" I laughed, the sound harsh in the quiet room. "I'm your daughter, your sister. How is this not personal? Your choices reflect poorly on the family name." My father said, "Your little craft hobby." "My business," I corrected. "Making trinkets in your apartment isn't a business." Louisa scoffed. "It's embarrassing. Do you know how it feels when my colleagues ask what my sister does? We've given you every opportunity." My mother continued. "The best schools, connections, resources, and you've thrown it all away to play with glue and glitter." I looked down at the document again, my hands steady despite the earthquake in my chest. Years of subtle jabs, disappointed sighs, and backhanded compliments had prepared me for this moment. They'd never understood me, never tried to. "Where do I sign?" My mother blinked, clearly expecting tears or pleading. "Melanie, if you just reconsider your choices, where do I sign?" Wendy pointed to the bottom of the page. "Initial here and sign here." There's a notary waiting in the study. 10 minutes later, it was done. I was no longer officially part of the Gonzalez family. The weight of their expectations, their judgment, their disapproval, all of it lifted from my shoulders. "I hope you understand," my father said, as I headed for the door. "This is for the best." I turned back one last time, taking in their faces, the people who were supposed to love me unconditionally. "You know what's funny? You're so worried about the family name, about success and reputation, but you have no idea what I've actually built. You never bothered to ask." "Melanie," my mother started. "No," I cut her off. "You've made your choice. Now you get to live with it." The door closed behind me with a soft click, far too gentle for the magnitude of what had just happened. My phone buzzed, a notification from my business account. Another major order had come in, pushing my monthly revenue well into 6 figures again. I smiled as I walked to my car, thinking about the stack of orders waiting to be filled, the upcoming collaboration with a major retailer, and the feature article being written about my innovative approach to sustainable crafting. They wanted to cut me off? Fine, they'd learn soon enough what they'd thrown away. Success, after all, is the sweetest revenge. As I drove away from the house I'd grown up in, I didn't feel sadness or anger. Instead, I felt something else entirely. Freedom. The freedom to be exactly who I was without apology or explanation. Family, I realized, isn't about sharing a name or DNA. It's about who believes in you when no one else will. And I had people in my life who did exactly that. They just weren't the ones I was leaving behind. "You did what?" Mara nearly spilled her coffee across my workshop table. 3 days had passed since the disownment, and I'd finally gathered the courage to tell my best friend. "Sign the papers without arguing," I said, carefully applying gold leaf to my latest creation. You should have seen their faces. They expected tears, begging, maybe a dramatic breakdown. "But your inheritance, Mel, the family connections, all of it, just gone?" I set down my tools and looked at her directly. "What inheritance?" "A share in a car dealership I never wanted. The privilege of being told I'm a disappointment at every family dinner." Ezra burst through the door. His laptop clutched to his chest like a lifeline. My marketing guru and business partner always had perfect timing. "Mel, you need to see this." He spun his laptop around. "Our latest collection just got picked up by Style & Home magazine. They're calling you the artisan revolutionizing sustainable home decor." Mara appeared at the screen. "Holy shit, Mel, these numbers, Is that really how much you're making? That's just last month. Ezra grinned. Wait until they see what we've got planned next. The eco-friendly packaging initiative alone is going to. My phone buzzed another order notification, then another and another. What's happening? I asked Ezra. He refreshed his browser. The article just went live. We're trending on social media. The sustainable living community is going crazy over your recycled material techniques. I walked to the wall of shelves displaying my latest pieces. Handcrafted home decor made entirely from reclaimed materials. Each piece told a story. Discarded wood transformed into elegant wall art. Salvaged metal reformed into striking sculptures. Forgotten glass reborn as stunning light fixtures. We need to scale up, Ezra said, already typing furiously. I'm getting inquiries from 3 major retailers. They want exclusive collections. Mara squeezed my shoulder, and your family has no idea. They never bothered to look, I said, picking up a piece I'd finished that morning. A delicate wind chime made from sea glass and driftwood. Too busy being embarrassed by their crafty daughter to notice she built a 6-figure business from scratch. 7 figures actually, Ezra corrected. Still typing. After these deals go through, my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello. Is this Melanie Gonzalez? A woman's crisp voice asked. This is Catherine Chen from Business Forward magazine. We're doing a feature on emerging entrepreneurs in the sustainable luxury market. Your name keeps coming up. I caught Ezra's eye. He gave me a thumbs up. I'd love to hear more, I said, keeping my voice steady despite my racing heart. We're particularly interested in your journey. Young female entrepreneur, innovative approach to sustainability, rapid growth. Would you be open to an interview, cover story potential? I thought about my family's faces when they saw me on the cover of a national business magazine. Absolutely. When were you thinking? After setting up the interview, I turned to find both Mara and Ezra staring at me. What? Business Forward, Ezra whispered. Do you know how huge this is? Their features can make or break companies. Mara hugged me tight. This is it, Mel. This is your moment to show them all. I pulled away and picked up my tools again. No. This is my moment to show myself. I've got orders to fill. The next few weeks passed in a blur. I hired 3 assistants to help with production. Ezra expanded our online presence and negotiated deals with retailers. Mara helped me prepare for the Business Forward interview. Tell me again about your inspiration, she said one evening, playing reporter. I held up my latest piece, a chandelier made from broken mirrors and copper wire. I see beauty in broken things, in the pieces others throw away. Everything has potential if you look at it the right way. That's it, she said softly. That's what makes your work special. You're not just making pretty things, you're telling stories of transformation. My phone buzzed with a text from Ezra. Major department store wants to meet. Tomorrow, be ready. I looked around my workshop. Once a dusty garage, now a thriving studio. Orders lined the walls. Half-finished pieces waited on workbenches. The air smelled of wood polish and possibility. You know what the best part is? I said to Mara, who was admiring the chandelier. I'm doing exactly what I've always wanted to do. What they called a hobby is now an empire in the making. Speaking of them, Mara hesitated. Have you heard anything? Not a word. I picked up my tools again. But they will. Soon enough, everyone will. The chandelier caught the setting sun, sending fractured light dancing across the walls. Like my life, I thought. Broken pieces, creating something unexpectedly beautiful. Time to get back to work, I said, reaching for another piece of salvaged copper. These orders won't fill themselves. There she is. Catherine from Business Forward rushed toward me, her heels clicking against the studio floor. Our cover girl. She thrust the magazine into my hands. My face stared back at me, surrounded by my most intricate pieces. The headline read, The Queen of Sustainable Luxury. How Melanie Gonzalez Turned Trash into Treasure. The response has been incredible, Catherine gushed. Social media is exploding. 3 major networks want interviews. Ezra burst in, waving his phone. Mel, the website crashed from traffic. We've got wait lists forming for every piece. And that department store deal, they doubled their initial offer. I traced my finger over the magazine cover, still struggling to believe it was real. The article detailed everything. My creative process, business model, revenue growth, everything except my family's rejection. The Today Show called, Catherine continued. They want you for Monday morning. Prime slot. My phone lit up with a text from Wendy. My first contact with family in 2 months. We need to talk urgent family matters. I showed the message to Mara, who'd been quietly organizing orders in the corner. Funny how you're suddenly family again, she muttered. Another text arrived. This time from Louisa. Saw the magazine. Why didn't you tell us? Call me ASAP. Ignore them, Ezra said, glancing at my phone. We've got bigger things to focus on. The Singapore collector wants to commission 3 custom pieces, 6 figures each. Catherine cleared her throat. Speaking of figures, Forbes is interested in featuring you in their 30 under 30 list. The notifications kept coming. Nathan, Mom's upset. You should call her. Then my father. We should discuss your recent publicity. Your story's inspiring people. Catherine said, oblivious to my family drama. Young entrepreneur refuses to follow conventional path. Proves everyone wrong. It's resonating, especially the sustainability angle, Ezra added. The video of you collecting materials from demolition sites went viral. People love seeing the transformation process. My phone buzzed again. My mother this time. Family dinner, Sunday, 7 p.m. We have much to discuss. Mara read the message over my shoulder. You're not going, right? I set the phone down and picked up a piece of sea glass, turning it over in my hands. Remember what you said about my work, Mara? About seeing beauty in broken things. Mel, no. They don't deserve I'm going. I cut her off, but not for the reasons they think. The rest of the week was a whirlwind. The Today Show interview went viral. Orders flooded in faster than we could handle them. I hired 5 more assistants and leased additional workspace. Look at these numbers, Ezra said during our Friday meeting. We've exceeded our annual projection in just 2 months. The sustainable luxury market can't get enough of your work. The waiting list for custom pieces is 6 months long. One of my assistants added, even with the premium pricing. I nodded, only half listening. Sunday's dinner loomed in my mind. Then my phone lit up with an email that changed everything. Holy shit, I whispered. Ezra looked up. What? The Museum of Modern Art. They want to feature my work in their upcoming exhibition on sustainable art. The studio erupted in cheers. Mara hugged me tight. See, this is what happens when you believe in yourself. When do they want to meet? Ezra asked, already pulling up his calendar. Next week in New York? I laughed. They're sending a private jet. Sunday arrived too quickly. As I pulled up to my parents' house, I noticed all their cars were already there. The whole family, right on time as usual. My phone buzzed one last time. A message from Catherine. Breaking news. Your Business Forward feature just won us Magazine Story of the Year. Congratulations. I smiled, tucking the phone away. Perfect timing. The door opened before I could knock. My mother stood there, looking exactly as she had the night they disowned me. Except now her eyes held something new. Desperation. Melanie darling, she stepped forward for a hug I didn't return. We've missed you. Behind her, I could see the rest of the family in the living room. Wendy with her briefcase again. Louisa pretending to read something on her phone. Nathan actually looking at me this time. My father still by his beloved fireplace. Have you? I asked stepping past her into the house. Or did you miss what I represent now? The room fell silent. On the coffee table, I spotted copies of Business Forward. My face stared up at all of us, a testament to everything they'd dismissed. We should talk, my father said, his voice lacking its usual authority. About the future, about family. I sat in the same chair they'd put me in months ago when they decided I wasn't good enough to be part of their family. Yes, I agreed. Smoothing my designer dress paid for with my little craft hobby money. Let's talk about the future. The silence in the living room was thick enough to cut. My mother bustled around, pouring tea nobody asked for, while my father cleared his throat repeatedly. Your work is impressive. Wendy finally said, tapping the magazine cover. The profit margins mentioned in the article are quite remarkable. Remarkable. I raised an eyebrow. I thought it was just a hobby, playing with glue and glitter. Wasn't that what you called it, Louisa? Louisa shifted uncomfortably in her seat. We may have been hasty in our judgments. Hasty. I took a sip of tea. You disowned me. Had it notarized. About that, my father stepped forward. We've been discussing as a family and we believe it's time to rectify that unfortunate situation. Unfortunate situation? I repeated. Is that what we're calling it now? Wendy reached for her briefcase. Always the lawyer. I've drawn up papers to nullify the previous agreement. We can have it done today. The timing seems convenient, I said, watching their faces. Right after the magazine cover, the TV appearances, the museum exhibition announcement. Museum exhibition? Nathan perked up. Which museum? MoMA. I said casually, enjoying their shocked expressions. They're flying me to New York next week. Private jet. My mother dropped a teacup. It shattered on the hardwood floor, but nobody moved to clean it up. Melanie. My father's voice took on the tone he used for important business deals. There's something else we need to discuss. The dealership is struggling. I finished for him. I know. I did my research. The shift toward electric vehicles hit you hard. Banks aren't as friendly as they used to be. The color drained from his face. How did I have good financial advisors now? They keep me informed about potential opportunities. Then you understand, Wendy jumped in. The family business needs to evolve. Your sustainable approach, Your media presence, it could be exactly what we need. I laughed, the sound echoing in the tense room. So that's what this is about. You don't want me back. You want my success to save you. That's not fair. Louisa protested. We're family, are we? I stood up, walking to the fireplace where family photos still hung. None of them including me. Because 3 months ago, in this very room, you made it very clear that I wasn't family anymore. People make mistakes, my mother said softly. We're trying to make it right. No. I turned to face them. You're trying to save yourselves. The dealership's facing bankruptcy. Isn't it, Dad? And Wendy, that partner position you were promised, it fell through when your biggest client left. Louise's hospital is cutting staff, and Nathan's research funding got pulled. They stared at me, shocked at how much I knew. Like I said, good advisors. We could help each other, my father insisted. Pool our resources. The Gonzalez name still means something in this city. My name means something. I corrected him. My work means something. And I did that without your help. Actually, I did it despite your active discouragement. My phone buzzed. A text from Ezra. Singapore collector doubled their offer. Again, says price is no object. I have a meeting, I said, gathering my things with people who believed in me before the magazine covers and TV spots. Melanie, please. My mother grabbed my arm. We're sorry. We were wrong. What more can we say? I gently removed her hand. You know what's interesting about my work? I take broken things that people throw away and turn them into something valuable. But some things, once broken, can't be fixed. Some relationships, once shattered, stay that way. You're really going to hold a grudge? Nathan asked after we've apologized. Apologized? I walked to the door. All I've heard are business propositions and convenient excuses. Not one of you has actually said you're proud of what I've built or that you were wrong about my choices. You just want what I have now. That's not true. Wendy started. Save it. I cut her off. Keep your legal papers and your business proposals. I'm doing fine on my own. At the door, I turned back one last time. You know what the worst part is? If you'd supported me from the beginning, I would have helped you without hesitation. Family meant everything to me. But you taught me something valuable when you disowned me. Sometimes the family you choose is better than the family you're born into. I walked out, leaving them with their broken teacup and shattered pride. My phone buzzed again. Mara this time. How'd it go? Exactly as expected. I texted back. They want what I have, not who I am. Their loss, she replied. Studio's packed with orders. Want to come help? Pizza's on me. I smiled. Starting my car. On my way. Family dinner's overrated anyway. The sun was setting as I drove away, casting long shadows behind me, like the pieces I worked with. I'd been discarded, but found my own way to shine. Some might call it karma. I called it justice. The text came 3 days later. Dinner tonight, please. Dad, I showed it to Ezra during our morning meeting. Think he'll actually say, please, in person. Don't go, he said, not looking up from his laptop. We've got the MoMA meeting tomorrow, and the Singapore contracts need reviewing. I'm going. I picked up a piece of twisted metal, considering its potential. But this time, I choose the place. I texted back, La Maison, 8 p.m. I'll make reservations. The response was immediate. That's a bit expensive. I'm buying. I replied, bring Mom. La Maison was the kind of restaurant my parents used to brag about going to before the dealership started struggling. I arrived early wearing a designer dress that cost more than my old monthly rent. They walked in right on time looking uncomfortable. The maitre d' recognized me immediately. Miss Gonzalez, your usual table is ready. The chef sends his regards and asks if you'd like the special tasting menu he's prepared. My parents' eyes widened. I smiled. That would be lovely, Thomas. Thank you. Once seated, my father cleared his throat. Your usual table. I invest in local businesses, I said, sipping my water. This place included. The chef does amazing things with sustainable ingredients. My mother fidgeted with her napkin. Melanie, about Sunday. Let's order first. I cut her off as the sommelier approached. The 82 Bordeaux, please. The whole bottle. My father's face paled. I knew he recognized the 4-figure wine. Now, I said, after our glasses were filled. What's so urgent? They exchanged glances before my father spoke. The bank called in our loans, all of them. We have 30 days to either refinance or sell the dealership. And my mother jumped in. We've explored every option. Nobody's lending in this market, not to car dealerships, especially not to dealerships without a clear transition plan to electric vehicles, I added. The first course arrived, tiny works of art on pristine plates. My parents barely touched theirs. We need help, my father said finally. The words seemed to physically pain him. Your help. Financial help. I clarified. Not family reconciliation. Both. My mother insisted. We were wrong, Melanie. So wrong. Seeing what you've built, what you've become, what I've become, I set down my fork. I'm exactly who I was 3 months ago. The only difference is now I have money and influence. The second course arrived. My father still hadn't touched his first. We're not just asking for money, he said. We want to merge the businesses, your vision, your sustainable approach. It could revolutionize the dealership. Electric vehicles, eco-friendly practices, and save the family name, I finished. That's what this is really about, isn't it? My mother reached for my hand. I let her take it. Watching her face. We're losing everything, Melanie. The house, the business, our reputation. Like I lost my family. She withdrew her hand. The main course arrived. Perfectly cooked Wagyu beef. The chef stopped by personally to check on us. Everything is perfect, Antonio, I assured him. The new sustainable menu is brilliant. After he left, my father leaned forward. How much? Excuse me, to save the dealership, how much do you want? I laughed. The sound drawing glances from nearby tables. You still don't get it. This isn't about money. It never was. Then what do you want? He demanded, frustration breaking through his carefully maintained facade. I wanted you to love me for who I am, I said quietly. I wanted you to be proud of me before the magazine covers and TV spots. I wanted a family who saw my value without a dollar sign attached to it. The dessert arrived, a spectacular creation of spun sugar and gold leaf. My mother started crying silently. We can change, she whispered. We can be better. I signaled for the check. Maybe you can. But here's the thing. I don't need you to anymore. I don't need your approval, your connections, or your name. I built something beautiful out of what you threw away. The bill came. I handed over my black card without looking at the total. So that's it? My father asked. You'll let the family business die? Let us lose everything? I stood up, smoothing my dress. You taught me an important lesson when you disowned me. Business is business. It's not personal. Melanie, please. My mother started. I have an early flight to New York tomorrow. I cut her off. The museum's sending a car at 6. Enjoy the rest of your dinner. It's already paid for. I walked out of La Maison, leaving them with their cold food and colder reality. My phone buzzed, Mara asking how it went. They finally said, please. I texted back. Too bad it was for the wrong reasons. The night air was cool on my face as I headed home. Tomorrow, I'd be discussing my art in one of the world's premier museums. Tonight, I'd left my parents with the bill they never saw coming. The true cost of throwing away family for the sake of appearances. They offered what? Mara nearly fell off her chair in my New York hotel suite. 20 million, I repeated, still staring at the contract Moeme's lawyers had presented for a permanent installation and consulting role on their sustainable art initiative. Holy shit, Ezra whispered, pacing the room. That's not including the Singapore deals or the retail contracts. My phone buzzed. Wendy again. Dad's meeting with bankruptcy lawyers tomorrow. Please call. I ignored it, focusing on the Manhattan skyline outside my window. The museum's private car would arrive in an hour for the final